So far, we've taken a deeper dive into the Android manifest and our main activity Kotlin file. So right, if we look at our app, if I come back here and we look at the launcher icon, when I click the launcher icon, there's information in the manifest that says what activity we should launch, what is the entry point. It is the main activity. That main activity is then loaded, which is essentially just Kotlin code, but we call the onCreate, we're overriding the onCreate lifecycle method, which runs as soon as the app is started. And in here, we're adding a little bit of functionality to inflate our layout. Right? We use layout inflation to inflate this specific layout. And it's all of this that sort of works together to make the app appear on our screen. And so what I'd like to do now is take a little bit closer look into this layout file. So I'm going to come over to my layout file. So here it is, activitymain.xml. The first thing I'm going to say is we're going to spend a lot more time diving into layouts, but for now, we're just going to get kind of an overview. So let's note that right here we have a palette that is where we can pick potential views to put into our app. So we have some commonly used ones, we have different text views, button views, different layouts, etc. A view is a base class for all user interface components, all UI components. Everything that we put onto our layout is going to be a view. And so you see these views that we can choose from right here. Now, if we look below our palette, we have something called the component tree. Our component tree is going to sort of list how our views are laid out in the app. So right now it looks like we have two views. We have a constraint layout and a text view. So the constraint layout is going to sort of define how the views are going to be positioned in the layout. And so we can work with different layouts. If we look, we have constraint layouts. I have a horizontal linear layout and a vertical linear layout. And then whatever I nest inside of this view, right? Whatever's nested inside of this view, like the text view, is going to abide by the rules of that layout. And so I have one view nested in my layout. It is a text view, and it simply says hello world. And let's zoom in right there so we can really see it. So now if I click this text view, whether it's here or just right in my app, I open up an attributes panel or an attributes tab on the right. And this is where I can change many attributes of the view. So even like if I can click the constraint layout, I get an attributes for the constraint layout. If I click the text view, I get attributes of the text view. And so, I don't know, let's change some of the attributes here of this text view. So I'm going to scroll down, and don't worry, we're going to talk a lot about these attributes. Let's change the text. So right now it says hello world, and I'm going to have it say hello world, the art of doing CS rules. And we'll say that, right? And so when I do this, if you notice here, I get a big yellow glowing box here, and it looks like I get a warning. And let's see what the warning says. The warning says we're using a hard-coded string. So we should instead use a string resource, right? And we talked about string resources. String resources are pretty good. They're over here in our resources file. And right now I only have one string resource. So I guess I could type out my string resource, right? I could do it just, right here. I could say name is equal to, I'll call it title string. And I'll say, oh, I don't know. What do I want to say? I'll say hello world. The art of doing CS rules. A little shameless self-promotion, right? So I can type that out, and now if I come over to my layout, in here, all I need to do is just reference that string. So I'll do @string title string. And look at that, it appears right there. So I can call that string resource. There's another way that we can do this. So let me just show you how to do it, because I'll probably do it maybe this way more often. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to actually delete this string resource now. So that string resource is gone. I should have an error in my... Oh, I don't actually have an error, right. It just actually prints out @string title resource. So what I'm going to do if I want to create the string resource right here in the attributes tab, I'm just going to click this button right here to the right of the text, and I'm going to come to add and string value. And I'll call this title string. I have to give it a resource name and then my value. So I'll say hello world, the art of doing CS rules. All right, and so now I can click OK, and now I've created that string right here. I can select it and click OK, and now we have that back. While we're here, we can do it, some other little formatting. I don't know. Let's see. We can let's change the text size so I can just scroll through, and we'll talk more about this. I don't know. Let's make it 30. We'll make it a little bit bigger. I can center it, etc. So that looks pretty nice. Now, we've done all of these changes here in the design editor of our layout, but I can also, if I click this code here, I can change them using XML code. And so we'll work, originally we're going to start with the design tab, but eventually we'll move into editing using the XML code. Why don't we change the color of the text view here in XML code? So you can see in my XML, it looks like I have my constraint layout. This is my first view. And then nested inside of it, I have a text view. So there's my second view. So I'm going to go inside of my text view. I want to change the color of the text. And I'm just going to start typing text. And you can see I get like auto-completes. And so I'm going to use text color. And I think we have a nice color resource that we've already created, right? The My Theme color, which is that hot pink. So I'm going to set that. And why don't we also set the background color of this? So I'll type in background. And we can do Android background, and we'll just do black. So black is a color that's, I think it's already defined, right? It should be. If we come over to our colors, yep, black is defined right here, so we can type that in. And so now, where'd my layout go? So now I wrote that in XML. If I come over to our design tab, we see that change has taken place. We can also write the code and see the changes at the same time using split. So again, you can make the changes via XML or you can make them via the design tab. I think they're both gonna, we'll use both, but we'll pretty much start with the design tab. So let's upload this. Let's just see our new layout in action on our device. And then we're going to do one last thing here with this layout file. So the Gradle build is running. All right. And we should see this look pretty cool, right? I don't know. Maybe you're a fan of the 80s. I think the 80s are pretty popular, right? So I click Hello World. And there we have it. Hello World, the art of doing CS rules. So I don't think it looks great, but it sort of shows some of the attributes that we can change. So one of the last things I want to do is say, what happens if we create an entirely new layout file? Well, let's see. So we know that in our main activity, it's setting and inflating the layout in the onCreate method. So let's see if we can create a new layout file and inflate it properly. So to create a new layout file, I'm going to come over here to Layout. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to New. And we'll do layout resource file. And I'm just going to call it test. That's all. I'm just going to call it the test layout because we're going to delete this eventually. And so we're presented with a constraint layout. I'm going to drag a view in here. I don't know. What do I want to drag? Let's drag a button. So I'm going to put a button into my view. And so there's a button. If you notice, look at the color of the button. It's our default theme primary color, which is kind of cool. We're going to get a couple of errors here. You can just to fix these, then don't worry. This is because we're using a constraint layout. I'm just going to drag to the left, and I'm going to drag to the top, and that should make a change. And why don't we also, the text says button. Ugh, I don't like that. Let's change it to our string resource that we created. So I'm going to come down here to attributes. Under common attributes, I'm going to say @ we have a nice string resource called title string. And so there we have it, the Hello World, the art of doing CS rules. So this is kind of nice. There's our button. And so let's run this layout, and let's upload it to our device. So I'll click Run. And we should be all set here. So let's see. Hopefully when this installs, we should see this new layout file appear when we launch our app. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm going to do terminate here. And it should open right up. It's launching. And what we see is we have the old layout still present. So why is that? Well, if you think about it, right, we said in the Android manifest, we're referencing the main activity as the entry point of the app. In our main activity, we're then inflating our layout, and we're still inflating the old layout, the old activity main. So what I need to do is put my correct layout in here. So r.layout.test. And there is the new layout. And so if we run this now, this should work much better. So we'll just take a look here. And we'll make sure that this works, and then I think we're just going to delete this test layout. Just for testing purposes, we're doing this, making sure we understand what's going on in these default files that Android Studio creates for us. And so there we have it. There's our nice button that I can click. Of course, this button does nothing, right? And we're going to learn in the future how to change that button. One of the things that I want to just quickly say is, why is it nice to use string resources? Well, if you look, we have two layout files, right? And they both say the same thing. They're both referencing the same string. We can now come over to the string, and if we want to change this, we'll say the art of doing, and I'm going to CS, and I'll say Android. rules. So I'm going to add the word Android, and as soon as I do that, we get a nice change here, the change occurs, and we get a nice change here, the change occurs. So we only have to make that change once, and then the change appears in multiple places. What I'm going to do now, I don't want this test layout, so I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go to delete, and we'll say delete. And if you look here, it says it's searching for tests. So this is kind of nice. It's searching for this layout file to find usages to see if we're using it. And it's going to let us know if we are. And it tells you right here, we have one problem, right? There's one usage of this, and so it's not safe to delete. So I can click View Usage, and it tells me right here, potential usage in my main activity in my onCreate. So right, I'm still referencing that code. You can delete it anyway, but it's nice that this tells you. So I'm going to come over to my main activity. Let's get rid of the old layout, and we'll put activity main. And now I should be able to delete this with no problem. So we'll delete that. It searches. And it's done. Okay, so this is like a really great place to stop, I think. We now kind of have seen the manifest at work. We've seen the main activity at work, and we have messed around with our layout as well. One last thing that I'd like to do here in kind of this exploratory set of videos with Android Studio is look a little bit more at some of these lifecycle methods, such as onCreate, when they run, why they run, and how they run. And I think that'll give us a really solid foundation that we can build upon as we start designing our own apps. So I'll see you in that next video.